Alright guys, so I want to get a baseline on what I weigh and then what these new IMRCs weigh, and then I'll get the old ones and I'll weigh those and see if, just out of curiosity, if there's any kind of weight difference, since these are deleting those, you know, flap things. I doubt it'll be much, but just out of curiosity, I just want to see. So 163.8, I'll pick these up. That's reset. $171.2. 166.4 is what I weigh. Now I'll step on with the IMRCs, the old ones. We'll see how much. 175 even, so. All right, everyone, so we are back from the dyno tuner, Mustang Muscle, and as you can see, we got the EGR delete on, and I don't know if you guys remember, but there's a whole mess of stuff right here, and that delete got rid of a lot of that. The IMRC plates are in, the delete plates are in, and I'll kind of show you and go over some of the numbers here. So I wrote everything down, but I'll put the dyno sheets in the video. But the baseline runs that I had last year, which, I mean, conditions could not have been more perfect. It was cool, it was dry, sunny. These are the numbers that I wrote down here. So peak on the baseline was 266 horsepower, 258 torque. Now remember, it was 258 horsepower, 250 torque, and I put that oil additive in, and it made it jump up to 266 horsepower, 258 torque. So just keep that in mind. On the tune today, I did not put that oil additive in. I probably should have, but I didn't. So 266 horsepower, 258 torque was with the additive. 260 horsepower, 250 torque was without the additive. Now the peak today after the final tune was 264 horsepower, 265 torque. The best horsepower pool out of all the, I think there were 9 pools, was 266 horsepower. So really no gain on the horsepower. If anything, we lost a couple. But if you remember, I switched the catback exhaust from straight through cherry bomb style, like glass packs, to the Flowmaster mufflers, which are a lot more restrictive in my opinion. So I mean, I may have lost a little bit there, but also not having the Oil additive, like I did last time, may have caused me to lose a little bit. So, I mean, you could be nice and give me 5 more horsepower on both, and 5 more torque, and make it 269, 270. If you factor in the additive, which would then put me, above the old baseline numbers. But anyways, what I was really looking at was those drops in the RPMs. And so I will show you right now. I'll put up the old dyno graph and look at about 3,400 RPM and 4,200 RPM. You'll see the drops in the lines of the horsepower and torque. So check it out. So you could see those drops, and it drops pretty significantly. So here was my baseline best run. This is when I got it, just dynoed it last year. At 3,400 RPM, 145 horsepower, and 225 torque. Those were my best runs. Now for after the tune today, which it was raining and it was a little cooler, but the humidity was high. So look at these numbers here. 145 went up to 164, so 19 horsepower gain at 3,400 RPM. 225 torque went to 245 torque. So a 19 horsepower gain and a 20 torque gain at 3,400 RPM. Now let's check out 4,200 RPM. So at 4,200 RPM on the baseline run I had last year was 235 torque, 265 now after the tune. So I gained 30 torque at 4,200 RPM. 190 horsepower on the baseline run at 4,200, sitting at 212 now, so 22 horsepower gain. So 30 torque and 22 horsepower at 4,200 RPM, which I think is pretty good. Now here, I wrote these down too. So this was the very first run today after the deletes were installed. This is before the tune. So this is just the baseline run. You could see how close it was to the baseline run I did last year. The torque was a little lower by 2, but the horsepower was the same at 3,400 RPM. At 4,200 RPM, the torque was 5 torque lower and 4 horsepower lower. So you can see what, the conditions that you dyno in, how that matters with the high humidity today versus like a perfect day when I had this baseline run. But I just kind of wanted to go over this. I know the peak numbers, there's like no gains really at all. A horsepower loss, if anything, or it's equal if you take my best run today. And then a gain on the torque of 7 torque rather. But looking at the 3,400 and 4,200 RPM, I mean, there was a 19 horsepower gain at 3,400, 20 torque gain at 3,400, and then a 30 torque gain at 4,200 and a 22 horsepower gain at 4,200. So really some big gains in those RPM ranges. And the curve, if you look at the dyno sheet when I just posted it, the curve is what I was really concerned about, because it had the 2 drops at these RPMs. Those drops are gone now. The line on the dyno graph, which I'll show you here, take a look at it. As you can see, the line on the dyno graph was great. And you might see a little hiccup at the top near the higher RPM range. I think something was going on with the dyno. It was kind of jumping at that point. I forget what the tuner said was happening, but he said it wasn't anything to do with the car. It was just something with the dyno, and that's why I think it was the torque jumped up to like 280 just all of a sudden. But ignoring that, I had some pretty good gains, I think, in these RPM ranges. Obviously, the peak, which is what a lot of people tend to look at, it wasn't great. I was a little disappointed in the peak, but I think if once I do a few more things to the motor, the peak will probably go up. I mean, headers, you know, X-pipe, pulleys, that sort of thing. Maybe possibly switching the exhaust out too. I think those things will help. But like I said before, I just wanted to get this thing tuned so that now I could focus on the chassis and stiffening the chassis, and then focus on suspension, and then later on I'll probably come back to the engine power stuff. But I wanted to show you guys this, and I plan on hitting the quarter-mile track again soon. So I'm hoping that these numbers here, this, you know, gains in these RPM ranges really helps at the quarter mile. So we'll see how it goes. But I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and stay tuned for the next video.